Well, Adam, Calvin, Ghost, thank you all for taking some time to join us. I think this is our third block space, and I know there's been some anticipation about hearing from Adam. Obviously, thank you for opening a Twitter profile to be able to do this. But if you kind of want to just jump in, maybe just a little introduction about yourself, and we'll open up to questions right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
I mean,
I'm just mostly gonna be here for support because I want Adam to take as much time as possible and get as deep as he wants. So go ahead, Adam.
cool. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd like to kind of just field people's questions. I can give a general overview of kind of what blocks is, and then maybe what we can build with it, and kind of where I see other developers being able to help and kind of bring things to life. But does that sound good?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that'll work out well. I think if you did like a 15-minute, it would probably answer questions anyways. So maybe if you just kind of get into some of the basics of blocks and what stuff you've been working on, we'll bring up questions right away and kind of go just question by question.
Okay. So yeah, at a really high level, blocks, right? It's a token on the Ethereum network. We've deployed similar smart contracts across other networks to take advantage of lower gas fees or transaction speeds. But ultimately, it's a token where we can transact value and data at the same time. So most other ERC20 tokens, right, you're just transacting some type of value back and forth. But here we can actually add data into our transactions, which is really like one of the key points of blocks. And the data that's stored on the blockchain is immutable, right, which means it can't be changed. And that's pretty useful for certain use cases where you need to trust that the data is fixed and it's not going to change. Like if a database were hacked, for example, you could kind of compare a record on a database with a record on the blockchain, and you would see that the files have been changed compared to what's on the blockchain. So that's really what blocks offers. And I think, like, if you think through all different types of industries that use data, that's really where the magic is, and there's a lot of potential there to be able to transact value and data in the same transaction. And I think, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. So I've been in the blockchain space programming since like 2017. And I've been toying around with data on the blockchain since then as well with different chains. But it's pretty rare that you can actually have a token where you can transfer value and data at the same time, which is really what excited me about the potential of blocks. And we started writing some of the original documents and white papers getting into it. But I'll just leave it there if anyone has any questions or
Yeah, I think the experience varies in these spaces. A lot of people know the words, and a lot of people understand some basic annotative like value of certain things. But I think that the general consensus is all this technology is relatively new, and with a lot of people on the block side, you guys kind of speak this fluently. You guys have been working on it for a long time. So, I mean, just looking at the website, obviously with like the novel asset tokenization and reactive contracts, maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about kind of that type of stuff.
Okay, yeah, the reactive smart contracts, that's kind of an interesting thing. It's really just a standard smart contract, but because our token is built on a standard that supports something called hooks, it allows it to react when it receives tokens in a sense. So you could think of the token standard that we build on with blocks as sort of like Legos, financial Legos, where you can create these contracts that are called operators. So blocks itself is sort of like the core contract in the center. And we can have all these other bubbles around it, which represent other smart contracts that might do other things. Like maybe you want to set up a monthly payment. So that could be a smart contract that you approve that as an operator on your wallet, and then it spends money for you every month. So, let's say a subscription that's $5 a month. This contract can handle sort of that approval process for you. You could have another one that tackles some other issue, and all those can be connected to blocks, and you can approve them or revoke them on an individual basis. And now those smart contracts can react to token events. So if I send 10 tokens out to this monthly subscription contract, it can automatically react to that and then do something else, right? Maybe send another transaction off to a payment splitter that can split it between 10 different people, break it up between wallets. So really, it allows you to be incredibly dynamic with the network that you can build. So it's like a network on top of the Ethereum network of smart contracts, potentially, right? And these can be built by the DAO, the BLOCKS DAO. They can be built by independent developers, and we can either approve them and offer like a verified contract, or they can just be totally custom and people can make them on their own and we wouldn't even know about it necessarily. So that's really what a reactive contract is, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, so you kind of talked on like the verified contracts, and I would imagine that that's kind of the verified by blocks. What makes that verified by blocks? Like, what is the key contributor to that?
Okay, so verified by blocks, there's this can evolve, right? This whole concept. There's different ways to approach it. So we're essentially putting data on chain. So what we can do is we can take let's say a contract like a DocuSign. We can create a hash of that file. And if you know anything about data hashes, if anything changes on that document, like even a period or you add white space to it, it'll create a totally different hash value. So you can tell if it's been changed or not. What you could do is hash a file, put that unique hash on the blockchain in a blocks transaction, and then you have a permanent record of what the hash was at that moment in time. And you can verify that against the database. That's sort of a light verification process where you're seeing if data has been manipulated at all. The other is sort of like what's happening with the Humble platform with NFTs. So they've taken some of the proof of concepts that we had at Blocks and they're actually implementing it. And this was, we take the NFT metadata, which can be spoofed, right? You can fraudulently create duplicate NFTs and deploy them and make it look like an original. Well, you can mitigate that a little bit if you, at the time of minting, you collect certain pieces of data about that NFT, and then you hash it with some algorithm, and you store that hash data on the chain. And then every time you fetch that NFT metadata from IPFS, which is like a service, sort of a distributed service where most NFT platforms are storing their data, you can compare that against the hash on blocks and see if that NFT has actually been manipulated in any way compared to when it was first minted, if that makes sense too.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the stuff that's happening with different platforms and some of, like you said, some of the fraudulent NFTs, and I think that kind of confuses people that look at that and say, well, I thought an NFT couldn't be like recreated or fraudulently placed on the blockchain, but obviously that hasn't been verified. Can you speak to that, or have you seen any of that?
Go
ahead.
Right, when you create an NFT, it's really a smart contract that has a link inside of it. There's a URL that gets placed into the token at time of minting, and that could be anything. That could link out to a centralized server somewhere, like that a company controls. It can link out to an IPFS URL, which is sort of the distributed, close to decentralized process. But what Blocks offers is really the potential for even just the metadata itself could be totally permanently decentralized by putting that metadata in a Blocks transaction. So you don't have to rely on a centralized server to be there in 100 years. Like if you want to go check on your NFT and it's on an AWS server somewhere, if Amazon, something happens in the future or whatever to that URL, then your NFT is essentially gone because the metadata isn't there anymore. You'll have a token with a token ID, but you won't be able to fetch the images or anything. So that's something to consider. And with IPFS, it's not really stored permanently there. You have to pin it, which means you're actually saving the different files on nodes that are distributed. And if you don't pin it and people aren't looking up the data often enough, the system can actually remove some of the metadata. So finding a permanent solution is kind of a big deal. And I think Blocks actually fits the bill really well because we can actually store the metadata and the verification data permanently. And like, I don't know if you heard about the Beeple situation, but I think there was a $63 million NFT that was sold, and it was like all of his works that he did for, I don't know, the last several years kind of merged into one NFT. Well, somebody spoofed that and created a V2 of it and it looked like it was minted from his wallet. And there was a really complex situation involved where the programmer had, spoofed that and minted it from this guy's wallet. Blocks could help with some of that because you're capturing the original values at time of minting, and you could compare those against newer issuances and see some discrepancies, like the hashes wouldn't match up. So that's the goal, is just to try to mitigate any type of fraud on that data.
I think that's one of the exciting things to hear, is creating a solution for something that is new, but is having some problems, and you're seeing some of the stuff publicly happen. So being able to offer a solution to that is something that I see as a huge value for Blocks. Thank you for speaking on that. Hey guys, I know we do this a little differently. We usually do questions at the end. Feel free to come up. We'll just kind of mix you in. And if you have any questions, I wouldn't wait till the end, just because we don't know when the cutoff is actually going to be. Just make sure you hit a request, and I'll bring you guys up. We already got a question. Hey, Nathaniel, what's up?
What's up? So question, I'm not sure for who, but how does Blocks generate revenue or income? Is it by leasing your technology out? Is it by virtue of people buying more blocks and the value going up? How exactly does that work? Because I'm trying to understand the technology and the value aspect.
So, I mean, I'll talk to the business aspect. I've spoken in Discord about it on multiple occasions, but the decision was made from the onset that we, as a decentralized organization, at least under my initial guidance, which is, as you all know, being progressively between the founders and the advisors, is being passed over to the community, and the community already has taken over a good amount of control of the DAO and the DAO's direction. But the initial thought that we had was that this is not something that we wanted to create a revenue model for. Okay, this is, I posted something today in Discord because there's been a lot of chatter about, what's going on, how do we grow, and things like you just asked, what's our business model, revenue model? This isn't a stock, and it's not a traditional company. We're not really concerned with revenue opportunities. So for an example, if we had a partner, which we do, who's a government contractor, and let's say they secure a $100 million government contract, initially they said to us, so what part of that would Blocks want? And I said, we don't. That's all yours. Keep it. That's yours. What we're interested in as a DAO in this project is the proliferation of promoting the ubiquitous use of the token as a utility in multiple, fundamental traditional businesses that are looking to move onto the blockchain. So it's not about producing revenues. We shouldn't. Look, it's up to the DAO, as always. In my opinion, we shouldn't be concerned with revenues. That's not the quote unquote business model that we're looking to build. We are looking to have our token used as often and by as many people as possible as a utility. And that's why Adam's here to talk to you tonight about the different types of use case scenarios and how those get built out technologically. But from a business point of view, it's not about revenue, just like Ethereum. What's Ethereum's revenue model, right? That's not Ethereum's business model. Ethereum's business model is to have as many people use their blockchain and use the Ethereum token to go out and develop different concepts, use cases, projects, etc., using the Ethereum token. And we have a similar thesis, which is we are more interested in having our token go out into the universe, metaverse, pick whichever term you want, and be used over and over again so that people ultimately, businesses ultimately, right now we're looking for business partners. The shift in that is when folks come out and they say, oh, we have an idea that we want to move onto the blockchain. Blocks is the token that has been used very successfully over and over again. We're going to go, buy a bunch of blocks and develop our use case on our own. So it's not about revenue, in my opinion. It's about getting blocks out there and getting as many use cases built as possible. If that makes sense to you, that's my
Yeah,
concept.
sure. Yeah, I think I get it. I use the technology, get the technology going, and whatever, see where it goes from there, kind of thing. And I don't want to derail you guys in what you guys wanted to talk about tonight, so I'll just leave it at that. But thank you for taking that question.
Thank you.
Well, I would just say one thing. We did build a model where, if a partner wants to put data on a side chain like Polygon or Gnosis Network, which used to be XDAI, just to take advantage of cost efficiencies and speed of those networks, there's a model where a business can purchase blocks off the open market. And then what they would do is swap those with the DAO for the sidechain tokens, like an equal amount 1-to-1. And then what happens is when that partner puts data on chain on a side chain, they can send those tokens back to the DAO wallet, and we can say, okay, as part of a contract or a deal, you have to spend like 0.25 blocks per transaction, or whatever we come up with to get the data on chain. So they get the utility of that, and then we reclaim all those tokens back in the DAO wallet. It's almost like an arcade model, right? Where you're going to put $1 in the machine, you're going to get your tokens that you can use at the arcade. Only in this case, the blocks on Ethereum would be the $1, and you would trade those with the DAO and get your sidechain tokens to do your business transactions. So, and then whatever we accumulate, right, the DAO can decide what to do with, maybe burn those or distribute them.
Yes, I think we love those analogies in the arcade model. I think it resonates with people at a level where it's pretty easy to digest. I have a couple questions, but I'll make sure that we kind of filter through and I can kind of talk with you at the end. But we got a level 2 who just requested to speak.
Hey, everybody, you got me?
Yep, here.
Awesome. Well, hey, Calvin, Ghost, Yacht, Adam, thanks again for putting one of these on again so quickly, week to week. And real quick, thanks to all the other DAO members. The community uplift event was just a lucky, humbling experience to be able to be nominated and receive all those votes. And I thank everyone so much. But
Totally deserved.
Thanks, man. Thanks. This question's from Adam. Adam, can you tell us about some of your experiences building on the DigiByte ecosystem and building in DigiCafe, and some of the lessons you learned along the way through that process, and how you've been able to apply those lessons to blocks or new ideas that maybe DigiByte either fell short in some areas, or some things that this token allows you to open up and get more creative and bring more utility using this new ERC777 token compared to your previous experiences?
Yeah, I think, building on Ethereum with smart contracts is much easier than UTXO blockchain, which is like DigiByte. However, DigiByte's a fantastic blockchain, and you can put data on chain there, but you're limited to about 80 bytes of data, which would pretty much limit you to just hashes of files. So you're incredibly limited with the data you can put on chain there. However, they do have Digi Assets, which was sort of like a NFT type of situation where you can create tokens of potentially like 1 billion tokens or 0, which would be an NFT. But that system was really it's just not production ready, I don't think. It works in the mobile apps that they have. But again, they're a totally decentralized group of community members just trying to make it work and find developers and have people build on the ecosystem. And I just think it probably doesn't have what it needs, which is like the DAO has here, is a group of people. We have an LLC structure. It makes it easier to deal with other businesses. We can have smart contracts here that we can deploy across other chains, which gives a much wider variety of options for partners. let's say we have a partner we're talking to that's already on Polygon. Well, we could say, hey, we're already on Polygon as well, so they can use those sidechain tokens. It's much easier for them than to try to integrate Digibyte some way, which it's a little bit more difficult to interact with Digibyte if you were to build a wallet, let's say build a custom app, because you have to use the libraries available in their GitHub, which they're pretty old, right? And they need updated. So I think that's sort of what I've learned, is that like there's a lot of projects out there. It's very difficult for these decentralized projects to find talent and keep building upon the network, because you get bursts of, maybe one year you have like 10 developers who are really into it, and then they just kind of fall off for a couple of years, and then another group comes in and finds it and picks it back up. So it's really important that we kind of leverage the LLC as a way to build partnerships, and also entice developers through, I think, different types of grants and opportunities. And we can do that all with what we have with the DAO here compared to Digibyte. So hope that answered it.
So Adam, you touched basically on with Digibyte. I think you said 80 bytes. What is the what is the capacity of one block? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I really don't know what the upper limit is. The upper limit is probably the gas max, which is like 10 million gas units, which is quite a bit of data. You don't really want to use the blockchain for large amounts of data, because I think Ethereum is like $4 million a gigabyte if you were to actually store data on there. But, for NFTs, metadata, hashes, verification type stuff, it's perfect because it's just a small amount of data and it's relatively affordable. But the upper limit's way beyond, what Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Digibyte is.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think next up we had non-fungible trapper.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for giving me the platform, everybody. Adam, I basically I kind of heard you go through it a little bit more with basically the DAO's relationship with different blockchains. I'm a business student here in Orlando, working on a business, and I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate the NFTs and create, in a sense, my own business model. So, like how you said with the DAO's relationship with that blockchain, with a different blockchain like Polkadot, for example, how would it contradict itself, or would be something that would kind of speed it up, like how you say, and use the utility still?
So you're talking about meshing blocks with Polkadot, for example?
Pretty much, because that's well, at least how the structure of Polkadot is it uses like a system to pretty much connect like blockchains itself. So yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what we're trying to do, and it's like, right, we have this data utility with blocks, and the idea is that we can deploy it on any Ethereum compatible network and have the same utility across all those networks. So yeah, I mean, if we were to deploy a contract somehow it was compatible over there, then we could take advantage of those users as well. To open opportunities for businesses there. So I think, yeah, if you were to build an app and incorporate blocks, you could actually support or roll out support for all the networks that blocks supports, which right now is, Ethereum, Polygon, and XDAI. And, we could deploy the same contracts on a myriad of different networks like Phantom and on and on. So you could have an app that supported all those different networks pretty easily.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Fly Marbles, you up next?
Yeah, thank you. This question is for Adam. I'm not sure if you are aware of it or not. I assume that you are. That I think something happened to OpenSea last week where the entire system went down, and I think it went down during when an artist was actually like in their minting process, and you brought up, something along the lines of, well, if you have something on an Amazon server and 100 years from now, something happens to Amazon, well, that image may not be there. But is that something that blocks or the blockchain that you are working on can address in terms of, because everybody, a lot of artists, a lot of people are so dependent on the monopoly that is OpenSea. Is that something that, your team sort of is trying to mitigate those types of occurrences? I'm not sure why it crashed or what exactly happened, but I know that certainly it was down and a lot of people were really disappointed about it.
Yeah, this is definitely something we've thought about. I think there's a couple diagrams on some old decks. I don't know if they're floating around on the website or not, but one of them was actually, can we take a large file, like an image file, and let's say break it up into 4 or 5 chunks and put each chunk in a blocks transaction, and then basically go out and fetch those transaction IDs, pull the image data off, and recombine it, right, to recreate the image, which is essentially, I don't know if you know what torrents are, like BitTorrent, web torrents, but it's basically, kind of what Napster used to be, which is like distributed system where little pieces of your music file are stored on a bunch of different people's computers. And then when you want that file, it pulls them all together and recreates the file. So we've definitely thought of things like that, where it's like, can we split a music file or an image file across multiple different blocks transactions and then fetch those transaction IDs and reconstitute the image data and store that. So in that case, what you'd be doing is storing a bunch of transaction IDs, and then the app that you build or whatever you're accessing your data through would fetch those IDs and recombine the images. And inside the NFT itself would be a transaction ID. So instead of fetching a URL, you'd be fetching a transaction ID and then pulling the data off, which is what essentially the blocks data is. So yeah, we've definitely thought about all this, and I've looked at web torrents and kind of trying to figure out how we can make that work. But right, I think these types of ideas we can outsource to the community or devs that are outside of the DAO right now, and kind of bring people in and challenge them with these ideas of how to build these things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I can jump in for a second, because that brings up something that I wanted to address tonight. There's been a lot of questions in Discord about, hey, are we going to hire more developers? Are we going to add more developers? And, I'd appreciate if you guys have questions about this tonight. You can go directly to Adam, but I just want to point out that, well, kind of at this point, the plan that we have is we have this token that is very customizable, and the technology is a kind of basic part of that. And we have in Adam somebody who understands technology, obviously, incredibly thoroughly. But more than that, what we have is Adam is someone who is exceptional if you give him a use case, a hypothetical use case. So if a business or a partner comes along and they say, here's something we're thinking about doing, Adam can do all of the initial thought processes for how you can incorporate blocks. And then the plan that we have in place is let those organizations, in the case of Revest, Adam had an initial conversation with Revest when we were using Revest to use their FNFTs for our pre-sale participants and locking in how to unlock their tokens at the appropriate time lock. And Adam brought up the concept of verified by blocks, and he was able to get them there from a technological point of view with what it does, to the point that their developers now go develop that. So I kind of wanted to be able to insert in this forum that initially we're not looking to quote unquote hire other developers. We have in Discord our DAO developers channel. A lot of people have asked, how do I get involved? How do I help? And a lot of you don't have experience, and you've said, what can I do to at least get started in learning about how I could help in the development of use cases? And Adam has posted in there a number of times a starting point with what you can do to get started. But we are looking for people to come in from the community the same way Linux did. And we have sort of an open source concept where you can come in, everything is in our GitHub. And if you don't know how to read GitHub, that's okay. But if you don't know how to read GitHub, you probably don't have currently the technical chops to be a development resource for us. But if you do, everything's in there to lead you down the path to be able to become a meaningful part of the development process. But I wanted to take the opportunity to answer the question, why aren't we hiring more developers? We don't need to. All we need is a single point of access like an Adam, and we're lucky enough to have somebody that has the capacity that he has to be able to then pass along the information to technical assets that have the ability to understand how he can break down the capabilities of our token to be used in utility use cases. And that's why we're not out there actively looking to hire developers. So I just wanted to get that off my chest tonight.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff we've probably seen in different batches as far as the DAO. You see people with some marketing background, you have some people with technical backgrounds, you have people with just creative backgrounds. And I think that's one of the interesting things about being a member of the DAO community is you see all these people just come out of the woodworks and they just need an opportunity that it would have gone completely unnoticed. But with these different channels and these different opportunities to just kind of speak up, we're seeing a lot of that talent really come out and flourish. So I think obviously very early in the process of the DAO LLC, and I think that it's very exciting to see just that kind of ground floor and just something to build upon. Marquise, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I'm just curious how well we think the BLOCKS token will work with tokenized real estate.
Yeah, I mean, tokenized real estate, essentially, it can work in a couple different ways. You're probably going to want an NFT in that case, which you could then verify, or you could verify the title of the real estate. It depends, right? How would you split ownership, right? Do you do one token and, make it divisible up to 100 different, pieces, or do you make 100 tokens and each token represents 1% of the property, and whoever owns a token, gets rights to certain things? But yeah, I mean, it can absolutely work. You probably have to create like an ERC777, which is like a semi-fungible token. But BLOCKS in that case is probably going to be better for verification of title data or something like that. That's my opinion.
Adam, can you kind of speak on all the, like, obviously not all the different ERC tokens, but what's the kind of variance in numbers? Is there anything specific that people can look for that is kind of like a trigger? This is this is this.
Yeah, so ERC20 is like your basic token. Most of the tokens that you see, just transacting value back and forth, like all your stable coins like DAI or USDC. BLOCKS is ERC777, which adds hooks, reactive hooks, and allows us to put data into the send function. Then there's ERC721, which is like your standard NFT non-fungible token. Each token is assigned an ID essentially, so it's a unique thing, and you can insert a URL into that. The ERC1155 is the final one I'll talk about, and that one is sort of like a blend of ERC20 and ERC721, where I can make an NFT or a token that has a token ID of 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one of those IDs can have its own quantity of tokens. So I can have token ID 1 can have 100 tokens, token ID 2 can have 1,000, and on and on. So that's the main differences, and I think it's just right, developers or businesses trying to come up with, like, you try to develop something, you're like, man, if this NFT had a quantity to it, that would solve a lot of problems. So, right, and then new standards are born out of those kind of needs.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I just like I said, obviously I don't want to go through all of them, but I think some of the ones that we're going to see through BLOCKS and stuff like that in the different white papers and stuff like that is good to at least kind of just have that at least semi background on it. We'll we got 3 questions up right now. Joy, only one, and then we'll come back to you, Marquise.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time, Calvin, Ghost, Adam. Question about partnerships, or I bet there are a lot of people in the community who have businesses that they know that could have some potential use cases. What is the best route currently? Are you ready for onboarding people? Do the businesses have to have their user interface ready? Like, say, I don't know, for distribution or purchasing and order fulfillment or other types of use cases? Do we send them to the BLOCKS.io website and the where they enter in their name and their email and their industry and website, or would you prefer us to do that through the DAO and connect them through the biz development team? What is the route that you would like, and are you ready for people to have their use cases handed off?
I mean, Adam, I could answer that from a business perspective, but as tonight is about tech, I'd love you to address that from your perspective and how you'd like that to come in.
No, yeah, I was going to ask you, Ghost. I think, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if we had, I don't know if we have this, like some type of a form where, you know, any type of potential business partner can come in and kind of try to define what they're seeking, like what their use case is, what industry they're in. And then we could definitely reach out to them and come up with basically an integration specialist type of approach where we draw a solution out and flowcharts and diagrams to kind of show how blocks can be used in their system. And that's how I like to approach it typically, is really what's the use case, what industry, and how can we build it into your system? So yeah, I'd love to know that myself. Like, do we have a process for that? I think we do have a biz dev team sort of in development that's part of the community that could probably help define that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure all of you know Joe from the DAO. He's a gold member who is the hardest working man in blockchain right now. Joe, that would be something super interesting for your group, as Adam just said, to come up with kind of a form. And I would encourage you to work with Adam on what kind of questions should be asked. And then we can figure out with with your help, where we want that form to be accessible from. But this is a phenomenal opportunity because we have a way to bring on builders right now, right? But we did that without the help of you all. We did that without the community. At this point, I think I would love to see what you guys bring to the table and change in the process, as Adam just laid out. Let's upgrade the process of how someone comes in and how we kind of, quote unquote, onboard them for the possibilities of working with blocks from a technical point of view. I think that's a great suggestion. And Joe, I'm sure you'll be pinging me in Discord later, but as always, it seems to be something that would fall into your lap for your team.
All right, we got only one.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I'm good.
So
Go ahead.
to be a true multi-chain, are we planning on? Hello, can you guys hear me?
You're breaking up a little. Try again.
Oh no, I keep getting muted. But in order to be a true multi-chain, are we planning on launching on different exchanges, or I mean not different exchanges, different blockchain, or are we just going to be only associated with the Ethereum network?
No, yeah, we'll definitely be cross-chain. So we already have deployments on XDAI and Polygon network. So the smart contract can be deployed on any Ethereum compatible network. And then what we'll do is the DAO wallet can hold those sidechain tokens. And any partner who wants to transact on those other chains can go to SushiSwap, Uniswap, get their tokens off the market, get their blocks tokens, and swap those out for sidechain tokens with the DAO. And then they can transact on those sidechains.
Wouldn't that be only one chain, which is the Ethereum blockchain? It's not a multi-chain.
No, actually, yeah. Once, like, if you go right now and you say I want to do transactions on Polygon with blocks, what you'd have to do is if you want to get, you have 1,000 blocks right now. You go to Sushi Swap, you swap your ETH for, you get 1,000 blocks. You can you contact the DAO and you say, I want to transact these on Polygon network. You could send us your 1,000 blocks. We'll send you 1,000 MBD tokens, which are the Matic blocks data tokens. And then you essentially can transact on those side chains with those tokens.
Maybe I'm not really understanding the true meaning of a multi-chain, but my understanding of a true meaning of a multi-chain is the token can actually be used on the Ethereum network, the smart chain, all these like Solana, all these different networks in order to be a complete multi-chain. Where I could use the block token and go purchase something on PancakeSwap, or go purchase something on Uniswap, or go purchase something from any different blockchain, and that to me is a true multi-chain. And I think as we go on, maybe we'll see blocks out of the Ethereum blockchain, not completely, but into different blockchains in order to integrate all that. But as far as gas fees goes, we understand that blocks could save up to 98% of gas fees, especially with what Humble is doing. Are we planning on reaching out to like Uniswap or PancakeSwap or SushiSwap in order to help those exchanges also save up to 98% of gas fees?
Well, Pancake is Binance Smart Chain, I think, which is already pretty cheap. Okay, you talked about true cross-chain, like use the token everywhere. That doesn't really exist because each token has its own protocol, right? So typically what you do in that case is you're bridging tokens from one chain to another. The problem we have with blocks is it's ERC777. So right now, if I take an ERC20 token and I bridge it over to Polygon, it gets minted as a ERC667 or something. So it gets minted on a totally different token standard. So you're actually not really playing with the original token on ETH anymore. It's a totally new token, but it's just bridged over to the side chain. So in order to avoid some bridging, what we did is we went ahead and deployed the same contract on those networks, and you have to swap out one for one, which is a little bit easier than bridging, and it's way more cost effective than bridging your blocks over. And what was the second piece of that you said?
The second piece of that is we have a technology where we could save up to 98% of gas fees. With why are we planning on reaching out to like different exchanges? Like, well, I know I personally trade on Uniswap, and I get beat down every single day with gas fees, and being able to save up to 98% of gas fees, I think that's revolutionary to the Ethereum blockchain itself. Are we planning on reaching out to different exchanges to be able to save or help save up to 98% of gas fees? Because potentially, if we could do that, I mean, we'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is how the Humble platform, I know they've said that, is how they're architecting the NFT platform there. But yeah, I mean, right, if you move to blocks, the savings there for gas is really, it has to do with blocks moving to L2, which is layer 2 solutions, which would be bridging. So those are core level, like layer 1 protocol. Like your gas token is a Matic when you're on Polygon, and blocks itself isn't used for gas. So we can build a gas station network where that gas is paid for by the DAO in some way in the future. But ultimately, the gas savings is really going to just happen by switching over to another network, layer 2 network. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because my understanding was I'll be able to, for instance, to buy the NFT with ETH, and blocks will basically be the smart contract for it, and integrate everybody into, for instance, one gas block in order to save that up to 98% of gas fees. But now I understand that I have to use Blocks token to buy that NFT, and that's how I'll be able to save that 98% gas fees.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're talking about NFTs and the Humble platform, that's they're going to architect that in a way where, you might be able to use Blocks to transact on the platform, but what's happening in the background might be, Blocks on layer 2 for your NFT, which would be another network. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, Yacht, for moderating the space. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I'm doing the easy part. I think we got Marquise and then Milky Girl, and I lost a couple. So if you guys got bumped down to listener, go ahead and hit request again. I'll make sure you guys get brought up. Marquise, go ahead.
So there's companies looking to tokenize real estate. And my question is, will these companies just come to Blocks and actually buy Blocks, or will they have to work with Blocks to try to make that work?
Do you want me to take that, Adam?
You can. I mean, yeah, they're going to, right, it's a permissionless network, right? Anybody can kind of come in and start building. They just need some test tokens and they can get off to the races. There might be benefits of directly contacting the DAO for potential grants or other opportunities, or the ability for us to actually help them build those systems out. But yeah, Ghost, go ahead if you.
No, I mean, that's exactly right. So, we're new. I mean, I know we've been around for a long time. I think we may be broaching 3 months. But in the beginning, we're able to hold the hands of people more actively who want us to in their development efforts. Then, as the future will hold. Eventually, we'll want people to just come and acquire Blocks and play with them and test them out. And Blocks will be a known enough standard from a technological point of view where there won't need to be as much hold handing. But at this point, absolutely, obviously, our project is very much looking to work in coordination with anyone who reaches out to us personally. But I guess that's the long answer to your question. They don't have to do that, but if they want the assistance, we'll be here for that. If they want to do it on their own, they can.
Yeah, now that we've had several questions on tokenized real estate, it kind of goes back to the application question. It's how do we? So Adam can build it however it needs to happen, but it's kind of, I don't know if anyone has done a really good job of determining how that would actually work in practice. So there are a couple of pieces. One is the ownership piece. The ownership could be split up into multiple NFTs to divide ownership. The other is access, because we're dealing with a physical location. So it's possible that there could be another separate NFT that gives access. So if certain people own a building or a club or a business, that doesn't necessarily mean that the rights for use and access to that building could also be split up. So it's definitely a use by use case basis, and it almost, in some cases, we would need real estate owners that had a specific need or an idea to come forward, and then we can build it all out and make sure that it all works smoothly.
I would say also, to build on that, as a DAO, one part that we could do is, I've talked about this to others, is develop our own NFT factory contract. So we could essentially deploy that, and we could have a custom blocks verification field in the smart contract itself. So any partner that wants to mint NFTs with be able to just link up to our contract and then build an application of their own that mints NFTs using our NFT contract, in a sense. So that would be a tremendous help, and it would have blocks verification kind of baked in. And that'd be something nice and pretty easy that we could do.
So I know there's other companies that are building platforms for selling or for doing tokenized real estate. And I was wondering if they could actually do it in a sense that their developers develop how that token is going to be used, and all they're doing is buying it from you. For instance, if a company wanted to tokenize real estate and they made put enough verbiage in the format that was easy for any real estate company to come along and tokenize real estate, could that developing team create that and just buy the blocks?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could have totally independent. I mean, that's what I did when I built like a proof of concept on Digibyte, right? I didn't have to ask anybody. I just built whatever I wanted on it, and then approached another business to kind of have them integrate that and build a proof of concept like in logistics. So it's like anybody can do this without our knowledge, essentially. Because the contracts are widely available, but we can make it easier. We can provide guidance, and if they do reach out to us, right, there might be some benefits to that as well. So.
All right, we've had a couple people that are bouncing back up and down. I think we got Milky Girl and then Shane.
Hi, yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I keep getting kicked. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just had a quick question. I was just curious. I'm sure it'll be a quick answer. I know some people asked about, multi-chain and all that, but I really missed out because I got kicked like 4 times. So I was just wondering about that. I know, you guys are going to go multi-chain. Have you guys also considered Solana? I was just curious about that because I'm really big on Solana, but I also have a lot of blocks. So thank you for answering.
Yeah, we've definitely looked at all those like wax as well. Solana, right, there's a different programming language there. So essentially we'll have to develop a contract that's close to whatever we're currently using that matches up with that we can deploy on Solana and also some of the others. So yeah, I'm totally open for that. And we had talked about that pretty much. How do we make it ubiquitous and across popular chains? Like wherever people are building is kind of where we want to be. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, you're up. 5th time's a charm.
Hey, thanks a lot. Sorry about the dropping up and down.
You're good.
So taking what Ghost and Adam have said collectively, it sounds to me, in terms of like a white paper or a roadmap or any combination of those two things, we're going to be more so relying on customers or the community to kind of catalyze these use cases, and then subsequently rely on subject matter experts within those areas to flesh out a white paper, a use case, or a roadmap for the token.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to think of it like Microsoft or IBM or any of the traditional both hardware and or software companies, they were the experts at their technology. But when their technology was looked at to be deployed inside, whether it was a large multinational bank or inside of a conglomerate that produces, like a P&G, right? We are the experts in what you can do with our token, but we do expect once the technology and the abilities of technologies can be understood, that the subject matter experts, as you pointed out, inside of different industries, that it would be the same thing as how they interface with Microsoft tools or IBM tools or Cisco tools. The technology goes so far, but as an industry expert, you need to figure out, once you understand what the technological capabilities are, how to apply that to your industry.
Right. So Microsoft essentially, made their OS indispensable by adding apps on top of that, that served business use cases. So yeah, I can see where a business case kind of has to be the catalyst for using blocks as the OS per se.
Exactly. That's kind of the concept I'm trying to run down.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Ghost.
So I think next, I know right now where I know Ghost, you asked for kind of 45 minutes. We're at that 55-minute time frame right now. Do you guys want to take a couple more questions, or what's your guys' schedule look like?
Yeah, I mean, let's take it. I don't know how many more questions there are. I hate to cut this off. What we may do, because we're a really tightly knit team and we have each other's backs, is if it goes a little bit long, Calvin and I are just going to abandon Adam.
Well, that's the benefit of the DAO. We're all here for each other, so we'll try and keep it afloat.
Sounds good. Let's keep the questions coming while we can.
Okay, Mahafu, you're up next. Can you hear me?
হ্যাঁ ভাই কেমন আছেন?
You there?
কথা বলতে গিয়ে
Okay, we seem to have some trouble with that caller. If he can call back in. You're live on WC. Just kidding. Go ahead,
Trying not to boot anybody, but it sounds like you're getting some feedback. There you go, down to listener. Anybody else got any questions? I think right now we are at kind of there we go, level 2. What's up?
Hey, really quick question, probably a 30-second ask. What's the current circulating supply? And is there a plan to get that kind of info updated on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, what have you? So when folks are reaching out, doing their due diligence, they get a more rounded picture of current supply versus outstanding supply.
Excellent question. I know that you all would expect that I have the current circulating supply off the top of my head, and I probably should, but I don't. However, the second part of your question, level 2, is yes, we actually just got approved by CoinMarketCap to be able to provide them with full basis of information, to be able to give them our total circulating supply and other metrics that we haven't been able to do yet, so that we can be considered quote unquote fully reporting. Part of that is a public verification process that we're in the middle of. I would expect within the next, call it week, that we should, I'm hoping, have that all done, and you'll see all of those metrics provided on all of the sites like, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, etc. Great question, and I'm glad you asked it, because we're just about done with the process of being able to provide all that information.
Awesome. Lewis, I know you were up, and I think I accidentally knocked you down. If you want to request again, I'll bring you up. But while we're waiting for that, Kat, what you got?
Hey, you kind of answered it just now, Ghost, but what's the timeline as far as blocks being on other exchanges to be purchased?
Well, what an interesting question, considering I was in gold earlier, and I'm spoiler alert, by the way. We were told today by FMFW, which is currently Bitcoin.com, that they have a launch date for us based on the integration of our token on their platform, which is a global centralized exchange offered everywhere other than the United States of America. And it looks like, I would say don't hold me to this, but you're welcome to hold me to this. But we have a proposed launch date of the 20th of January.
That's awesome. Thank you. And beyond that exchange, are there other exchanges that are pending that we can talk about or not?
Sure. HitBTC should follow about a month after that, Changely and Changely Pro after that. We've been invited by Bittrex outside of the U.S. to contact Bittrex U.S. That's obviously a longer process. We'll focus in on Binance and some of the other bigger exchanges. A lot of you know that I've run an exchange, so what I know about exchanges is that we're going to want our volume to go up on the other centralized exchanges first. Otherwise, we're going to apply to be part of some of these bigger US exchanges. And it's one of those things that if when you apply and you get turned down, they don't look at you again for a really long time. So timing's everything. So I'm simply waiting for our volume and some of the metrics that exchanges use for their approval process to be in place so that we have more than a better chance of acceptance when we apply. But we do have pretty exciting. HitBTC is a phenomenal exchange, tons of volume, tons of usage. Changely Pro, phenomenal exchange. Talking to a couple others, and we are still waiting to hear back from Gate.io out of an exchange that I'm sure you all know. One of our community members asked us to apply to, and we're still waiting to hear back from them. They said the process would take as long as a month. So lots of exchanges in the works, lots of exchanges coming online. Excitingly, we will be launched on our first one on the 20th of January.
That is fantastic news. And thank you again for your expertise in doing this the right way. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a couple other questions, but they're kind of going in, they're getting bumped down. I don't know if they're on computers rather than mobile. Remember, guys, if you guys want to talk, you guys have to be on the mobile. If you're on the computer, it's going to give you some wonky type experience. So we got Lewis back up, and then there's a couple people that just got bumped down. So I think that we can start wrapping it up if we don't get any questions, just because I know you guys got some stuff to do. But let's bring Lewis up and Traber. Lewis, go ahead. They're connecting. Give it a second. Lewis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, go for it.
Hey, good night, guys. Thank you for being here hosting this for us. Hey, I'm just going to be the one. Any updates on integration blocks for Humble?
Oh, good God. This was, Lewis, I know you.
You know I'm coming. I'm coming with that one.
You couldn't help yourself, could you?
Yes. I'm going to be the one.
I already answered that. We are at the mercy of our partner, Humble, who the last time I spoke to them, they were in the process of getting the tech wrapped up and out the door. I know that they need to get some approval on, I believe it's the Apple Store. But again, that's one of our partners. The tech is in their lap. Our understanding is any day now. And I mean that. I can't tell you any more. What I can tell you is, as I've said, any day now. But I don't mind you asking, keep asking. It's very exciting. And as soon as it happens, you'll be the first to know, Lewis.
Hey, it's crazy. I didn't ask for myself. It was for my friends.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good, man. You're a phenomenal community member. Thank you for everything you do. It's a great question. And as soon as we have any further updates, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we're all excited for that news to come out.
Lewis, I don't think you were the only ones thinking it, so I think you're okay asking it too. Traber, what's up, man?
Hi, Adam. It's nice to finally get to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I know Ghost kind of talked about, that we only have you as the resource and that, there's a certain process he wants to go through. But I also wanted to ask if someone like myself, who is like a computer science major, it's not my job, but I do know coding in basics, that if I wanted to use the GitHub and I wanted to get started trying to develop like a simple application using blocks, if I wanted to learn about it so I could like tell other people about it, if there is any kind of resource I could use to help me get through the process.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I could get to you directly or if I also thought, like, what if we created our own YouTube channel or had some kind of training book or some kind of training PDF that helped us get on board for people like myself.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I mean that's what I like to hear, because when I made the GitHub, right, I made it for developers. So if you look at a lot of projects, right, blockchain projects, the GitHub is really just libraries to kind of help you connect to the network, or it's not really an application, right? So our GitHub is full of like mini apps, basically. So all these modules are essentially like a React app, which is the front end, and it's already connected to the contract. So if you go to one of our repos and you download like the metadata project, you can run it locally. You'll see a front end there, and that front end is connecting to the blocks contract. And you can kind of go through the code and see where the contract ID is referenced. And there's also a GitHub repo that shows all of our official contract addresses, and you can kind of click through those links and you can see the code that's published on Etherscan. So all the blocks contract itself is published there. And if you connect your wallet to MetaMask, you'll see like all the read functions, all the write functions that are available to you in the contract. And essentially, if you could think about it like this, like the blocks contract is essentially a deployed database or a backend, and you're almost making REST API calls to this backend. So all the functions in the contract are almost like an endpoint, and you connect to that contract, you can call a function, and if you have permission to execute something, you can execute it. So yeah, I highly recommend that's the starting point for any dev, is just go into the repos, download any of those projects and run them locally, and kind of just explore what the code is doing in there, and you should figure it out pretty quickly. Yeah.
Thanks. So I have looked at the code on the GitHub, but I was just wondering, like, because I know if you wanted to use the coin, there was like a drip of the blocks that you could get, and you can use it like on the Rinkeby network, the test network.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just don't know how to get completely started. So I was just like, is there any kind of someone from my perspective, I don't program in blockchain, that's not something I do on a normal basis, but if I could get started, I'd like to play around with that.
Yeah, sure. Are you on Discord?
Yes, I am on Discord.
Okay. Yeah, you could always ping me in the developer channel, right?
Okay. I think I have a few times.
Wolfe there. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to get more into depth there, we can, and I can kind of help you navigate it. I can give you the link to, I don't know if you have Rinkeby tokens, but I can kind of show you.
I know about it, but I don't know how to use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if someone could help me step through it, that's something I was kind of looking into. And I was thinking, like, if someone could just make like a YouTube video that just kind of gives the basics, I mean, people like myself could all kind of dive into these programs just on their own time, kind of like Linux. You just have all these libraries and tutorials and things that people could start developing on their own time, using the blocks token. I think that'd be cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So definitely need to look into making YouTube videos or other types of just how to get started in 10 steps type of thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever I try to learn, like, say, a new language or so, the first thing I'll do is, like, I'll just scour YouTube, like, okay, where's the tutorial on it? It's so much faster. You can start learning and start coding and developing real quick. So anyways, I just thought that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So the second thing I just wanted to ask is about the ERC777. Is there any other ERC77 tokens out there? And what makes our blocks proprietary that makes someone else from doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can build on the standard. There probably are a couple tokens out there. I'm not sure, because even when you look in Etherscan, for example, it references the ERC20 interface. So even if you look at blocks, it'll say ERC20 on Etherscan. So I'd have to do some digging, but it really depends on what the use case is for the team that deployed the other token. Are they leveraging the data or not? I don't know.
Is it the smart contract that makes it special, or is it the developed code behind that makes it special, like the SDK, or is
Yeah,
it
it's
our
really,
GitHub?
someone will define a standard, and if you follow the implementation of that standard, then you're essentially, if you meet the requirements of ERC777, then you are an ERC777 token, and we have an ERC777 interface. So, right, you can customize it at will beyond that. But yeah, other teams may have used it. There's actually a big push to use ERC777 in future DeFi type projects because of the hooks. So ERC20, you may have to do 2 transactions to get something done, whereas ERC777, you could do 1, and that would reduce your gas, like theoretically, depending on how you build out your network. So yeah, different teams may use it in the future, but that doesn't limit us with what we can do. And I think not enough people are actually emphasizing the utility of having data in the token, because more people are just focused on speculative plays with value. So
Right. I did recognize like the ERC777, you could put data into the send function.
yeah,
You put metadata in the send function, which you don't have to do a separate transaction like the ERC20, right? But is there actually another token out there like Blocks that you could mention? I'm just trying to figure out, is something that's like trading on like Coinbase, or is there a token out there like that?
yeah, good question. I'm not aware of any. I'd have to do some research and kind of dig it up.
Okay, but you're
Yeah.
not aware of any. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I did have one other question. If you could answer it, I'm not sure, but go ahead.
Am I gonna have to squeeze it?
Oh, I think we lost Ghost. So the other question I had, if you could answer it, is to do with the labs. Like, have we thought about how we were gonna create training material for the labs group, or how we were gonna do all that?
Similar thing. Yeah, I think that does need to be done. We need to think about that in terms of who's going to execute on those videos and stuff. I mean, it may have to be me to do the first couple, but we probably need to. We do have a Git book, right? And we could probably just create a section in our Git book for, specifically for code tutorials and how to get started with these projects. I think that'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, I would say let's get Lab's proposal up and voted on, and part of these are questions we can answer in execution, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I think Labs is looking very good, but I think first we have to do this methodically as we laid out, and we'll get there. But Adam's answer is right. Listen, I want to apologize first of all to Adam, because Calvin and I are about to abandon you. But I don't want to derail the momentum that we have here tonight. So if you guys have questions, and if Adam doesn't mind continuing answering them, that would be great. But for Calvin and I, we're going to have to say, as always, thank you guys so much. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your curiosity. We appreciate everything that you do for us, and for this community and our DAO. And we'll see you again in Spaces, I guess, probably in about a week. But we're going to leave you in the very capable hands of Adam for the rest of this call. And I'll see y'all in Discord.
See you guys.
Thanks,
And
Thanks,
most
Calvin.
likely this will not be our last conversation with them anyway. So Adam's gonna have plenty more opportunity to speak to the group, hopefully, and as we grow, hopefully there'll be others that we can interface with as well.
Thanks, Calvin.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a good night.
Have a great night.
Adam, I don't know what kind of time frame you're on. We got 3 speakers up here right now. We can kind of cap it at that if you're good with that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Gambit, I lost you. So if you come back up, we got Gambit, DDP, and then John Chu. So DDP, go ahead. And if Gambit goes back up here, we'll bring him in.
Sure, thank you. we were talking about real estate a little while ago, and I was thinking about a specific example. We're talking about real estate being divided by the owner as per their request or wishes. And an overall thing kind of struck me: does quantifying like our token values and divisions? I know we can go out to 0.18 zeros or spaces. Does that quantifying those values and divisions presently of a block become important, like when you're thinking about like industry, like specific divisions of value? And it was a question for Ghost, but very relative, and it was kind of a segue. Is it? There's something that I think is a very novel idea. I think it's something that it keeps me up at night thinking about, and that's real estate investment trusts, which are companies that own income-producing real estate. It could be one piece of real estate, or it could be 1,000, and they provide like these investment opportunities, like a mutual fund. And through the purchase of these, this individual company stock through a mutual fund or exchange, it can be traded. It can be an exchange traded fund or an ETF. So when you're talking about that, you're starting to get into like valuations that borderline like stock valuations. And so, do you want to take it out to 18 decimal points for a specific industry that may be somewhat quantifiable or require defined values? And then the question for Calvin was, with percentages measured on the ETFs, on the NFTs, are they measure them now with ETFs like a mutual fund, but could you measure in the form of an NFT or blocks themselves, and then could they be traded as an ETX?
We actually lost Calvin. Him and Ghost had to go. So maybe we can get that answered. I know he's been in here quite a few times, and I'm sure that we can talk to him in Discord and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I would say, like regarding the decimal places, yeah, the blocks token is fixed at 18 decimal places. But if you were tokenizing real estate, like I said, you'd probably do this on an NFT contract, where you could then define how many decimal places you wanted. So if you used ERC777, which is the NFT standard where you can have a number of tokens associated with a specific token ID, you could literally say 0 decimal places, 1, 2, and so on. So you can get pretty specific with that. And then you'd have to get creative with, okay, how do you tie blocks in to that NFT, because they're two separate tokens, right? But yeah, you can control decimal places to a certain extent.
I'm thinking in terms of say one RET that owns like 100 properties buys another REIT that owns like 50, and the one that owns 100 properties calculates their 100% differently than the 50. I guess it would be that you would have to you'd have to work with your decimals to just quantify 100% of the properties, or however they're divided. But I was just thinking about industry specific sort of values for divisions that are known today. I know it's a far off question, but if I'm buying an orange at the grocery store, and I'm paying, and the grocer is using blocks, and they have 1,000 stores, and their blocks division is different than their competing chain. It becomes, one's using, they're the same value, but they're basically drawn up differently.
Yeah. I mean, you could accommodate for some of that on the front end. So if this partner is building a checkout or a POS system, or they're accounting for things certain ways, like you can limit the decimal places, right? You could two fixed, limited to 6 places or whatever on the app. And I mean, there's creative ways around that, I think. Yeah.
All right, cool. Adam, thank you, man. You are next level.
All right, we got one more question, and then we'll close it out. John, what you got for Adam?
Cool. Okay, thanks. Adam, thanks again for popping in here and for hosting. So I did. My first question was I wanted to know if Calvin hooked up with the Revest guys, because they were like having a love fest during their last talk and getting all excited, and I wanted to be like a fly on the wall in that one. But do you know if they've been able to talk since then, or?
Yeah, good question. I was on a text thread, and I did see something getting set up. I'm not sure if they've been able to do it. I think probably when Calvin gets back in town, they'll connect. Yeah. But yeah, Rob I know he's been super busy. So I think it's coming soon. But yeah, that was exciting for me as well. I like that.
Fun. Yeah. So I guess, just helping a lot of people understand where we are in this process. I mean, like so many people like myself are really new to crypto. I mean, really, this is like, my first year getting into crypto, but I've learned a ton just by following, you guys and being in these spaces. So it's been really informative. But I think help me understand, a lot of these projects are building out like their own blockchain or their own wallet and all this kind of stuff, right? And you guys seem to be taking a different approach of, hey, we're gonna set ourselves up for the future, no matter what the future looks like, is what I feel like. And so maybe you could kind of speak into that. Do you guys plan on building your own blockchain, creating any other products? Right now, you're an ERC token. Do you foresee, other blockchains maybe taking over that dominance, that Ethereum currently has in that? And so are you positioned to switch if that happens? Give me some kind of industry perspective of how BLOCKS is set up.
Yeah, there's been a number of different projects that have kind of switched chains, right? They may have started as an ERC20 and now they're moving to Binance Smart Chain. I think that just happened with BitTorrent, their token. So they were on Tron maybe, and they switched over to BSC. So it's definitely possible. There was another one, Kick Token, which moved, I think, from ETH to another side chain. And what happens is essentially everybody who holds blocks on this current smart contract will get migrated over and airdropped essentially whatever tokens, whatever standard you move over to. So you can port things over. It's kind of messy because you want to make sure you're dealing with a large number of tokens. You want to make sure people don't get left out. But it's definitely possible to move around. But yeah, I think that's the goal. Was it's like, right, all these projects, yeah, we can fork our own blockchain, kind of go that route, but you're still dealing with the same issue where it's like these projects are still looking for people to build on them. Something unique, right? That isn't just another DeFi play or another fork of Uniswap. And we thought, why don't we just, right? I think it's the cell phone tower model where somebody's building the tower, renting space on there in a sense. So we could take advantage of other people's infrastructure and still connect people through our network, right? So wherever you are, your phone just switches over to that network. And I think that's kind of what we want BLOCKS to be. It's like we can deploy this contract anywhere and still support our users on that network. So.
And can you speak to, how many people were involved in, brainstorming this and, and creating this, and some of the, I guess, the industries? I mean, it seems like it's pretty diverse. I mean, you got, programmers. I mean, you have, real estate people, like how many people were involved in these like early conversations and coming up with this?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that early on, even like just like connections through investors and other projects, right? When you're talking to different people, kind of brainstorming all these ideas and what's possible, you get people who are in business and doing creative things daily, and they have all kinds of ideas, and it makes you think, oh, I wonder if we could tackle that or tackle this. And like, right, we get on this call and we talked a lot about tokenized real estate. Well, we've talked with other people about that in the past, and it just sort of evolves, and it's a process of connecting with influential people who have a lot of ideas and are doing a lot of things. And I think at one point, there have been conversations with people in the DAO. I think, I think Brian and others who are connected to some government people who they had all kinds of ideas about what blockchain could be used for. And so the goal has been to build a token that can support all those different things, which I didn't even think was possible, actually. And then once kind of unlocked all this potential. And the hardest thing is really just to distill down what it is that makes blocks magical. And it's really that the data on the blockchain and the ability to track things in a unique way. So there's just lots of different people involved, maybe not directly with the project, but just periphery conversations and stuff that kind of led to new ideas and stuff. So it just evolved. The core group was probably 4 or 5 of us who had been working on it. Yeah.
All right, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's basically it. I appreciate your time. It's good to hear a lot of this information directly from the person that's basically building it. But hopefully we can get you on again in a month or whenever you're available. But again, thanks for creating the Twitter page and getting in here and kind of educating some of us.
Yeah, awesome. I had a great time. So I appreciate everyone coming on and hearing what I have to say. And I thank you all for participating in Discord and all that. It's a massive help, and I love seeing the energy in there whenever I peek in. So that's cool.
Sounds good, guys. Well, with that, I believe this was recorded. Hopefully it'll be uploaded later today or tomorrow. So I'd say give it a once over, and you'll probably have some more questions. So if you guys aren't in Discord, go ahead and join the Discord for the Blocks DAO. And other than that, I'm looking forward to the next space that we can host next Tuesday.